Hey everybody, I'm Jim, the Money Man. Welcome back. Happy New Year. Today we are going to talk about connect board and mirror columns in your Monday boards and how to deal with them in Integromat. We're going to cover the basics today and show you two techniques that will help you get started on that. And we'll probably do a follow-on video to this as well to show you some more advanced techniques to simplify things. Okay. Without further ado, let's get started. All right, so this is the main board that we're going to use in our example. I took this from Daniel's use case, the Monday Elevate template, and I made some changes. I collapsed some of these columns. I changed the name of this column, added a period so we can distinguish that. And this is the mirror column, the main focus of what we're going to be doing. I added these two columns, fixed rate and change notice rate. So the basic concept is when this gets linked, I want to save the rate here. And if this goes up, then I want to be notified of that, but I don't want to automatically change the rate that I'm using on this board. So that's what we're going to take a look at today. And let's get started. All right, so here we are in Integromat. So we're going to start by adding a Monday module, and that should do it. Yep, okay. So we're going to read the board's items. So we're going to read the board's items, list board's items. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to just bump this up to, I don't need it, but I'm going to. Here we go down to, what did I call it? Mirrors projects. Okay, let's add our columns. Change notice rate, that's that flag, and we're going to read in the fixed rate, and then also it's not going to do us any good, but I want to prove it to you. We're going to read in the rate, and then finally we'll want to read in the connect board column. So there's two project managers. You shouldn't do this, but so what I did was I changed the name. This is the one we want with the period on it. Add. Okay. All right, so we're going to run this. Okay, so now we're going to come in here and take a look at this data. I want to show you what it looks like. We're going to scroll down to the second line here, the architectural plans. And what I'm going to do is highlight that so I can use it in a minute. Just copy it. Okay, so in the mappable column values, we have the project manager, which is the connect board column. It gives us an array of the pulse IDs that are attached, or the item IDs. So there it is. Now notice that the mirror column, which is the rate that we actually want, is empty. But we know, because you guys were sharp and I told you already, there was a value in that second line, so we're not getting it. There's two basic ways to address the mirror columns. And we're going to look at the first one first. Okay, that one is to just read that item directly. So we're going to pull in that module, and the ID we want is from this array here. And we're going to take that one value and do okay. Now, one thing we need to make sure, not all of them are linked. Whoops, sorry. Not all of them are linked. So we need to just look at the one that is important to us. So we're going to say if the name is equal to, and we're going to paste that value that I copied earlier. And okay. So now we're going to run this again. All right, so it worked, and looks like we did. Okay, so here in the mappable columns, column values is the number that we were hoping for. So that is the value that we need. Now let's just go ahead and complete the scenario so you can see how we would do this. We're going to update that item. And we're going to write out into the same board in the same, we want to map this. So we're going to, oops, here we go. We'll want this ID. Column values we're going to change is going to be the fixed rate. And we're going to put in there the rate that we got from the connected board So that's numbers. There we go. I'm going to add that. And we also want to save the change notice rate. So in case there's a change. And we're going to save the same thing. Where am I? Numbers. There we go. Okay. Sorry. All right. Okay. So that's that. Now, I also want to do this if there is so this is basically in the situation where there's a new value, but I also want to do it if I have a change in the rate. I want to create an update. So we're going to scroll down here. We're going to create the update. And let's see, we're going to have to do that. It doesn't give us a choice. So we do that. And the item ID that we want to have this attached to is our original board. So come right there. And the body is, we'll just say something like PM rate went up from to fixed rate is, okay, now we need to put it in our column values. So the fixed rate is what we got here, fixed rate, and the value that it changed to is what is currently there, and the from is what was saved in the change notice rate. Let me just make sure I have the right spacing. Yep. Okay. It's not fancy, but it'll do. And then I want to basically repeat this. So I'm just going to paste it. And I don't want to save the actual rate. So let's just come in here. Okay, so that's the fixed rate. We want to keep that the same. So we're going to just delete that. But we are going to resave the current rate because we don't want to keep getting a change notice for the same thing. All right, so now we just need to come in here and put in our filters. This, we want basically to only execute this piece if, oops, we don't want to do nothing. All right, so we're going to see if we have a linked pulse, then great, then we're good. Okay, so that does that, and then this is okay. So now if the fixed rate does not exist and this rate, where is it? This rate does exist. Okay, so if it was blank for some reason, we don't really want to do anything yet. So that works. Okay. And then on this one, if that other one failed and the new rate is greater than the fixed rate and it's greater than, oh yeah, we need to get this. Okay. That is greater than, what am I looking for? Jeez Louise. Greater than the previous rate, the saved rate. So there we go. Okay, just to double check there. Okay, so that should do it. So let's take a look at our board, and we're gonna switch back over there real quick. Okay, so these should all get written out. We should also see that same thing duplicated here, and I think that's it. So let's give it a shot and see what happens. I'm gonna auto align that. Okay, run. Okay, now notice that every item that gets through here also reads from here. That'll be significant later. Okay, we don't have a choice because we're writing out everything that needs an update, and we got none of these, so that looks good. So we have all the values now. And I'm going to run it again just to make sure we shouldn't get any of these and we shouldn't get any of these either. So we'll run that. Okay, so it read that and it again read all of these, but it didn't do anything else. So now I'm going to switch over to my PM board that actually has the rate in it. We didn't look at it earlier, but it's not really that interesting. I guess I could do it from the main board. But okay, so Simon Banks, we're going to change to 150. So now if we rerun our scenario, we should get everywhere that occurs, we should get this updated and a notice. So run that. I don't know how many times it occurs, so Okay, so out of the 7 connected board columns or values, we have 4 of them that needed an update. So now let's look back on our main board, and okay, so it didn't change this, and it looks like we need to do a refresh again, but we'll just come back and hopefully it'll be updated by then. And okay, so did we get notifications? No, this is just running kind of slow. Okay, so I had to do a refresh, but now we see that the data, it did create updates. So let's take a look. PM rate went from, missed a space, doggone it, from 100 to 150, fixed rate is 100. So now if we change this again from 150 to 200, we would get a notice that says PM rate went up from 200, from 150 to 200, and fixed rate is 100. Okay, so that looks good. We got them on all 4 items, and we also got the change notice rate. Okay, so that completes that. So before we go on to the second one, I want to take a specific look at the array processing portion. Okay, so here we are in a new scenario, and I skipped the boring part. We are going to come back in here and do Monday again. There we go. And we are going to list boards items, but we're going to do this for the connected board, so the PM board basically. The board ID is going to be the PM, and what we're going to do is get the rate, add, okay, and then what we're going to do is put that into an array. So we want the ID, which is the item ID, and then we're going to collect the mappable column values. This, doing it the way we're doing it, it doesn't allow you to select which fields exactly, but that's okay. So we're just going to take that, and then I'm going to add one more thing in here. Well, let's run this first. Did I run anyway? Okay. Okay, so we got 1 read there and 1 aggregation. So if we come in here and look at our data, now we see we have all 7 of the records that are in the PM board. And so by doing it this way, we won't have to read every single time we go through here. We'll just reference our array, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So the one we had before was, we changed it to 150. Let's see if we can figure that. Okay, so it's right here. Okay, so what I want to do is show you, before we move on to the full scenario, I want to show you how to reference this data. So what we're going to do is take this ID, copy it, and then I'm going to add a set multiple variables. I always use multiple because there's no disadvantage. We'll just use an X. And then the variable that we want is, we're going to reference this array, and we are going to use the array functions map. Okay, the way map works is, you can see up here, we have the array name, then the key, and then if we want, we can also add a key to filter, and then the values that we want to filter by. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to delete these 2 right here, and what we want to return is that rate, right? So we need now to look at our array. The easiest way to do this is to just come back here. And so we have an ID, and we have mappable column values. And then inside of the mappable column values, we have rate. Now, this isn't representative of all of the data that's actually in the array. This is being taken from this structure that is on the board. So that can be a little bit confusing sometimes, but we didn't output all of those other columns, and so we're only going to see rate. So this is what we want. But the way we have to do this, we're referencing the array here, and one of the elements of that array is the mappable column values. So we need to look at this raw name. So we have to do it this way. The column, the actual name of the item is irrelevant. We have to go by the raw name. It's a little bit like a column heading and a column ID. So here we go, mappable column values. So let's put that. So we're going to return. Okay, so that's the first part. Now, because this is inside this the structure here, we need to reference what is inside there, and we're going to do the same thing. We're looking for the raw of this value, and that's numbers. So, and the way to distinguish this is to put a period and then do numbers. Okay, and we're going to filter based on the ID. So the ID raw is ID, but it's lowercase. So we do ID, and then the value we want to search on is the one that I copied from earlier. So we're going to take that ID. So what we should get back is in our X is just a simple value of 150. Now, one more step. The map function in Integromat returns an array, even if it only gets one value. It doesn't return, see, you can see down here, it returns a primitive array. And so we need to get back to the single value. So the way to do that is to, I'm not even sure where it is. I always just type it in. Here it is, get. Okay, so you do a get, take this out, and what we want to get is just the first value. Now, there's only one, but that's what we'll get. Okay, so we're gonna add that. There's our value. Click OK. So now when we run this, it's going to read the entire board. It's going to put it into an array, including the ID and the rate. And then we're going to select out one of those rates. So let's run this. Great, everything looks good. Let's see what we got. 150. Boom. So that is the main idea, the main concept that we need to understand. So we're going to take this and basically add it to the same functional piece that we had earlier. All right, so I'm going to make some magic happen and then we'll come back. All right, so I started to do this and then I thought, you know, this is actually very helpful. People might want to know this. So here we go. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take these two pieces and I'm going to copy them and then add them into the other scenario. And we'll basically destroy our other scenario, but in the process. But anyway, so the way we do this, if you hold down the shift key and then drag over the pieces that you want, you can now do a Control C, which copies that. So we can get back out of this, and I'm going to go back. Let's see, I don't think I want to show you all my scenarios. All right, so pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. All right, so what I want to do is add it basically in the front here because I don't want it to execute any more than it has to, but I do need it as I go past here. So this is going to only read once for the board, but it is also going to basically iterate all of the items separately. So I don't want to keep doing that array portion. So we're going to put it in front. So here's how I do it. I do an add module, and that gives me a gap. So then I can basically do a Control V, pasting in those two pieces that I wanted. And then I disconnect this and I reconnect it. I know this seems a little weird, but it's the way to make this one the main module. So now now that everything's connected, I just go here and delete this, auto align, and we're good. Now, this is basically still telling me that I have those selected. And so all I have to do to get rid of that is just click outside. Okay, so we are reading the entire connected board. We're putting it into an array. We remember how to get that value when we want to use it. We're going to read all of the project board, and we don't need this. And I'll tell you guys, since you made it this far, mirror columns will slow down your reads significantly. So if you have mirror columns in a board and you're having problems with this read failing or timing out, it's probably because you have mirror columns. They give you basically nothing. So just delete it. And if you don't specify any columns when you read a board like this, it will basically output everything, which includes the mirror columns, even though they do nothing for you. So, okay, so there we go. Okay, now this is good. Yes, we need that. This we don't need, but when we delete this, we're going to be in a little bit of trouble. Let's see what we did. Okay, so trying to figure out, okay, so we have a link and then the numbers are not equal. So we basically want to put a router in there. So let's do that. So let's add a router and we want to unlink that, link it there, and then link this, and then delete that. And that keeps our filters. Great. All right, so everything's good. Now we're going to need to change. Now notice these guys are upset now. We're going to change this from the value that we had to the other one. Okay, I'm going to go just copy it real quick, come back, hold on. All right, so I copied that and we need to paste it in here. So we're going to do that. Now this array has a new number, so we just, or the module has a new number. We're just going to change that. That's just, when all else fails, use your keyboard. And we want that right there. Okay, so that looks good. And this, we don't want to be a constant. We want to use the linked ID right there. Okay, so that we got, okay, all is good. Now, we did that, yeah, okay. And now here, let's just check that. That one's good. And let's check this one here. Okay, so this is going to be this thing that we just created. So copy that the easiest way. That in here and same here. Okay, and now that one we don't have anything. Okay, very good. So we want to change this to our value. Now, if you want, I usually opt for things that are more optimum. So I wouldn't add an extra module in here for no reason, but what you could. And let me just finish this one real quick. But basically, every time we use that value, we have to put that in here. So, but if you want to make it simpler, that's fine. You can do that. You would just create a module, a set multiple variables module, and then put that in there. Then you could just use a simple name in every single one of these. And it's up to you. I don't generally do that, but to each his own. And I will say this. I do sometimes do that, but usually only for testing. But once I get everything working and everything's hunky-dory, then I will come back and remove those and use this so I don't eat up my usages or whatever you call them. All right, so there we go. So if I've done everything correctly, let's by the way, I also cleared the values, and just to prove that, I will come back over to the board and I still have them selected. All right, so I cleared this. I'm not going to delete the updates, but you guys can figure it out. All right, so here we go. Let's see if this works. Okay, so we got 2 reads here. We got 1 read here. And then we have this stuff, which we really have no choice. But instead of this one executing 7 times, and imagine if there was 100 items on the board, on this board, on the project board, this would be executed 100 times in the other situation. And we don't have to do that anymore. We have 2 operations and we've got it, and we can reference that array throughout. So let's go check our board. And hey, things are speedier, or maybe I just talk a lot. So these are now updated again. Let's make a change and take Simon. Let's do Kate this time. We're going to change her directly in this project board to, let's do 180. I guess, well, it doesn't matter. Okay, so that happened. And if we, oh, it did. It refreshed it. Great. Okay, so that works. Okay, so now we're going to run this again, and we should get where Kate appears, we should get those changes. And what happened? Oh, that's not Kate. Okay, so 180, and this updated. The change notice updated. We didn't want to change our fixed rate, so that's good. Everything worked. And now the question is, did we get on Kate's? Oh, we did. So yeah, I was looking for twos, but so on Kate, we got one. Let's just see. I never added that space back in, so to fix it, but that looks good. And did we get the other one just to make sure? Yep, we did. Okay, great. So that is the basics of how you can access mirror columns in Integromat. All right, so that's it. There are some advanced techniques that we will probably have a follow-up video on that will help us make this structure better. If accessing multiple columns within this board, there's some other things we can do. Anyway, we'll cover that in a different video. But that gives you the basic idea. Now on this one, just for those who, why would you do this? On this one, I would probably run this nightly. And you know, when we run it again, and there is nothing to process, we only get 3 operations. So it only needs to do the updates when there's something changed. So anyway, that gives you the basic idea. You get it. Oh, okay. So that's it for today. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, hit that bell icon to get notified of others, and leave me a comment to let me know what you would like to see in the future. All right. Later. I'm Jim, the Monday Man.